free from the Yoke with the Gauntlet. And this is going to be a new campaign, and we're going to be doing the nice part of creating the land and the houses that have recently liberated it from the evil empire that has been forced them into submission. And first, we're going to establish what the land used to be like in the ancient past. Before we can do that, each of us has to pick a playbook. First, each player picks a house playbook, and then once that is done and we had a short conversation about that, I'm going to pick the arbiter playbook, which represents the larger societal order that has emerged after the empire was vanquished. This game, it is a gauntlet game, so the gauntlet inclusivity policy applies. We are using the X card and script changes safety tools. So at any moment, you just want to signal something for the X card, just do so in the chat, in the video, or just call attention to people. While script change is more when we are on a more tense scene that might cross some lines, we can carefully curate them by using editing board tools, more or less, where we can just cut parts, fast forward, pull back, and lastly, but not the least, we have lines and veils, which put subject matters that will not deal with or lines that will not cross, and it will be treated as a living document. I also want to remind everyone that we have an open table policy. So if at any moment you need to leave for some reasons, feel free to do so. There is no necessary commitment. Now, before anything else, I'm going to ask if anyone has any houses which they have a preference for.
I see Greg there wanting to say something, I think.
From my first reading, the Horse Lords of the Steppe are certainly, I have a really interesting, I hope, version of them I would love to play.
Because I know I'm only here for this first one, and if I've got to cut slightly early because I'm running a game in less than 3 hours' time. So I thought I'd make last choice, and we could decide on that third faction on how the triangle might work.
Yeah, I have several I find interesting here. I think from what we talked about, it would be interesting to have something that is in conflict with the Horse Lords then a little bit. I think perhaps the Forgers of the Marble City is probably my choice. Yeah, I think so.
So we've got what we would expect to be fairly aggressive land grabbers. We've got a base of civilization. What acts as the go-between for those, I wonder? What about, how do we feel about the church? Your religion is not native to the lands. It was carried here by the empire like a seed lodged in a bear's pelt, but it soon found believers. The outlawed gods of the land found expression in your dogma, but what happens now? Does that fly?
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so it's very hard to pick the arbiters now. I'm tempted to go either to the land of your ancestors. As you know, we have the city people, we have the nomads, and we have the foreign church. So there might be a weird relationship with the land itself. Or the guardians of history, the people that actually preserved the old knowledge, maybe against the empire, maybe against the church, by keeping it hidden in far distant places. I'm leaning to those two arbiters. Anyone has any opinion?
I'm sorry, what was the first one?
The land of forest, your ancestors, and the other one, the guardians of history.
I mean, for what it's worth, I like the land of your ancestors. I think there's all kinds of mythic history possibilities in that.
I'm fine with both, I think.
Same, fine with both.
Okay, I think we're gonna go with the land of your ancestors. So next we have to create a landmark. So let me give you the link of the map, the Google Drive for the map. So each of us picks a landmark of their playbook and adds it to the map. So you can just scribble something, write it down, or get or paste an image that might represent that. So this time we are creating the land. So do we already have an order of? Yes, we have an order. So let's go through order of the character keeper. Let's start with the Church of the Forgotten Lands. So which landmark you have to add on the ancient past section of your playbook?
Okay, so I have an ancient temple converted to the service of gods, or god or gods. A dry river, once a source of life, but now a cursed place. Or the old gods carved this mountainside, now weathered, hidden, and defaced. I like a good curse, so I think a dry river, once a source of life, but now a cursed place. Now it says draw the border of your parent country on the map, then pick one to put on the map and make up your own landmark. So do I need to draw a border?
Yes, you do.
And do I put my dry riverbed inside my border or outside it? Or does it
Outside.
matter? Okay.
Actually, does it restrict you? I don't think it does.
No, I'm not seeing any restriction.
No. Yeah, you can put on your side of the border as long as it is on the map. That's the only restriction.
Okay. Then I will put it outside my borders. I just need to work out how to do that. Okay, so Church Homeland is top left, and I will put something out here. Dry River, and conceivably scribble something to show that dry river coming onto the map and going off it. Does that work? Okay.
Yes, next it's the Forgers of the Marble City.
Yes. So I draw a mountain range on the map, and then pick one to put on the map. So there's a great cairn towering above the landscape, cyclopean walls guarding a long dead fortress, or the old crater where once a mysterious metal was unearthed. So I think I'm gonna make some mountains. I'm gonna figure out how this drawing things here work. I am not completely sure. Let's see here. Excellent mountains here. Oh no, I failed. Oh well. And then I think I'm gonna, let's see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make a crater. see. Excellent drawing here. Just for our future selves, I'm gonna say that that's a crater. Cool.
And next we have the ancient past of her steppe horse lords.
So the first thing I do is I draw where the steppe is. So I'm going to do, I'm kind of interested. So there's a dry river. I think it would be interesting if the dry river kind of flows through the steppe. Let's see. Try doing this. Oh, it like fills it. Nope. All right, so we'll do a border. Something like that. And this area here will be the steppe. And then my choices are the Field of Bones, where the dead will not stay buried long, a single solitary barrow of a long dead warlord, and the Dried Up Spring, where the house clans first met to discuss politics. Now there's a dry river. I'm actually into the single solitary barrow of a long dead warlord. And we're gonna do like, it's a fun shape for that. Here, we'll do like this kind of shield looking thing. And I'm gonna put it on the border. Kind of right here. This looks like an important spot. It was right. Tomb. Right there. And yeah, maybe the curse did create the steppe. That'd be kind of interesting. Or at least that's the lore. That's what people say.
Next, we have to go through the stats of our houses and how do those stats represent the place that your ancestors had in the old society. So let's go back again to the church.
Okay. Sorry. Imperial occupation, did you say?
No, we are still on the ancient past.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we are now picking the stats and
I beg your pardon.
stats
Sorry.
mean. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to go for reach 1, grasp -1, and sleight 2.
And which version of the history is that? What's the
Oh, sorry. That is, if your faith was brought here by the Empire's slaves, incorporate elements from the new allies in the lands. Sorry, that doesn't. Hang on. If your faith was brought here by the Empire's slaves, incorporating elements from their new allies in the land's locals.
So your religion was not from the upper classes?
No. No. I've been crying, let my people go for some time now.
That's very interesting. Next, we have our forgers.
Yes, I'm just trying to figure out like the min-max area and what this stat means. Let's see here. Okay. Subterfuge, grasp, claim by force. Okay. And ready to conduct diplomacy. So I think I'm gonna go with reach 2, grasp 0, and sleight -1. If you answer to use their prodigious skills to win favor at courts far and wide.
Yeah, so you were artisans that worked for the powerful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not the most. There's another option that is even more like that. Like if answers only allow the most worthy to benefit from their creations. But I'm not that, so.
So you are more. You went around from place to place and sharing the bounty of your crafts. Maybe that strange metal had something to do with it.
Perhaps, yes.
Yeah. So, and next we have our horse lords.
I've gone with reach -1, grasp 2, sleight 0, because my ancestors were locust swarm, seizing pasture after pasture by force, leaving ashes in their wake. Ancestors.
Good pointing that out right there.
We are no longer like that. Yeah.
And there's no infighting about whether we should return to those ways. No, not at all.
Okay, speaking of ways, let's talk about customs. So, what are the customs of the church that go back to the ancient days?
So, I either have a shining one, who is the church's divinely anointed ruler, or rule is shared between Lord's temporal and Lord's spiritual in uneasy balance. Or, though princes have reigned before, now the primate and church hold power. I think I'm going to go with that one. So that's rule 1. Let's put that in the character keeper. Hang on, that's customs. Oh, is this doctrine from the character keeper? Or governance, perhaps. Governance.
Doctrine is a move.
Yeah, no, governance is where it fits.
Yeah.
So I'll recreate that as rule. Okay. And then populace. People in every walk of life are God-fearing to the last. Or the priesthood works tirelessly to minister the poor and downtrodden and hold back the excesses of the nobles and merchants. Or fully half the population live in monasteries, mastering crafts as well as prayer. I think I go for a simple one. People in every walk of life are God-fearing to the last. Okay. And then last but not least, what is style in the character keeper becomes culture, I think, in this iteration. So austere and cold, the arts must labor under the guidance of the church. Or the joy and wonder of life is celebrated in extravagant clothes and rites. Or no expense is spared decorating churches, and art patronage is a religious duty. Oh, austere and cold. To go with our poor and slave-like origins. Austere and cold, the arts must labor under the guidance of the church. Let's make sure we don't have any of that heretical painting, shall we?
No icons here. Okay, so next we see the forgers of the marbled city and their ancient customs.
Cool. I only have one I have to pick. And I'm gonna pick rule the tempered monarch endures flames to win total power. 2 noble houses vie for power with the aid of lesser factions. The forgers lurk in the shadows, pulling the regent strings. I guess that's governance as well then.
So which one of those 3 you picked?
Am I picking one from each of them? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
The forgers lurk in the shadows, pulling the regent strings. Okay, right. I misunderstood. So
Michael, I think you're muted.
Of course, that was what I was saying. I'm muted. I'm choosing for populace. The people wield the power, and a revolt can topple any given order. I am muted again. I'm going to choose the last one here as well. The clothes of crafters mark them out as loved and prized, while all others follow strict codes. That's...
So when you might rule from the shadows, but when you go out in style. Next, we have the customs of our horse lords.
Yes. So the choices are: the mightiest always rule, a council of clans, or the line of princes that's been unbroken for a century. To fit with my concept, I've adapted the last one slightly. It is an unbroken line of horse queens, unbroken for centuries. The populace, the choices are: every citizen is mounted ready for war. The clans are spread across the whole steppe to seek their means of life. And then once nomadic, the people still live off the land wherever they go. I chose every citizen is mounted, ready for war. Not everyone is a citizen. And then finally, for culture, there's boisterous and warlike, but always welcoming in peacetime. The trophies of your enemies adorn your saddle and abode, and then you adopt the best ways and practices of those you fight. And I'm going to choose the trophies of your enemies adorn your saddles, and it's mostly stuff from the Empire.
So, will you say that you raided the Empire even on before they invaded these lands?
That we raided against the Empire?
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, I think so. At least portions of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now we get as a group to pick the form of the land. So on the arbiter character sheet, we have 3 options that we can pick as a group. So it can be despoiled. So while you were laboring in foreign lands, the empire raided your homeland of every natural resource of worth. Know your back, and it's clear that the land's bounty is depleted, and those that remained are starving and forlorn. When you identify a natural resource with Read the Wind, the GM will tell you an obstacle that must be overcome before the surplus can be harvested. So basically, the land has been impoverished, and it's going to be much harder to get surpluses now. Or it can be hostile. Like a wounded animal, the land spits and claws at anyone who draws on it. Meanwhile, the people that remained are practiced at asymmetric warfare and will not accept others' authority kindly. When you cast a ritual, the land fights you. You suffer one more pain than normal. When you trigger logistics, the populace resists you. You pick an option even if your mood is 0 or above. So what this means in practical terms is that magic is more expensive in terms of consequences, and whenever you try to reorganize and do something with your house, the local populace is going to strike back at you and your authority. And then lastly, we have alien. Most of the land's residents remained, and while you fought to hold into your heritage under the empire, they evolved far beyond your common ancestors. Now they view you like another set of invaders, claiming kinship you have not earned. The GM will mark down the areas they hold claim 2. When you claim by force or wage pitched battle in those areas, lose 1 favor. So in this case, it's like these common points that we establish, they are far into the distant past, and that basically you evolved into a distinct culture than those that remained untouched by most of the empire on these lands. So what this means is that whenever you fight them off to take their stuff and claim more territory, you're going to lose favor with the land itself.
Can I just want to test a premise here. So we have a church homeland, a steppe, and the mountains where the forges are to be found. Does that mean that the space in the middle of the map from which the dry river flows, that's the, for want of a better word, contested space? So is that where for instance, the people that remained are practiced in asymmetric warfare? Is that the premise? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, basically if you pick a style, it's going to be less obvious. It's like there can be people within your conquered territory that are also practiced on this. While it's going to be alien, it's going to be more specific. These lands in the middle that none of you lay claim, these are claimed by people that don't recognize your role.
Well, I mean, alien sets up instant conflict, and conflict is usually not a bad thing.
I like the alien as well because it sort of feeds into that what we were talking about, exploring the cultural appropriation, where we've all, if we're viewed as alien, then it looks like we've, there's more room for that sort of activity to occur.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I think it would be, I mean, I of course, as the forgers, I guess I'm also a little bit interested in the first one. Fine, as long as it's not the second one. I think that's the least interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we can just go with the third one, then, I guess.
Okay, let's go with alien then. The land still resists your claim. Okay. And we move to the occupation. So we go back to adding landmarks to the map, so which represents how the land changed during the occupation of the empire and the scars that are still around. So we're gonna go back to the church and to see which landmark they add during the occupation.
Okay, so I have the Great Fire Pit built for the rituals of the empire, an ancient monastery toppled by the empire, Martyr's Way, where the empire executed many believers. I think I'm going to put an ancient monastery slap bang in the middle of the contested territory, I think. What could I use? Yeah, I'll find something that looks like that.
So it's in the middle of the contested territory, so it's something that the church would love to take back.
Indeed so.
Okay, next we go to the forgers. So which scars were left on the forgers?
So landmark for imperial occupation, right? I think, well, we haven't established a city yet. So I guess this thing where I'm going to put this is probably going to be a city. So I'm going to put the imperial palace built as an extravagant home for an emperor that never visited. And I think probably I'm going to put it in one of these deltas here. I'm just going to find if there's any great shapes for... I mean, I was just... There's a sun here. I was thinking about Versailles right away. I'm gonna put, let's see. And of course, it's in the Dry River, even more interesting.
So, and next we have the landmark left on the Horse Lords.
The options are a racing track where the Empire built to display the might of the horses if they stole from your people. The governor's mansion built of brick and stone in defiance of the oldest traditions. And then the one I'm actually choosing is the beacons that call the house to your empire, to the Empire's wars. And if it's okay with the other players, I'm going to put those all in their territory. So we're going to do these little, or those little markers that are orange. So you can remind me of my treachery.
Oh, so you will say that you were accomplice in the oppression of the land. No wonder that the people resent you.
You know, they might resent me a little bit.
Well, they resent the three of you. So,
So the River Palace is the ancient city that the Empire probably ruled over. We should probably put a beacon there too.
yeah,
Maybe at the junction of the river.
yeah.
There you go.
Okay, next we gonna go with history. So we are going to determine what was your relationship with the empire and how it treated your house. So let's go back to the church.
Okay, so how did the Empire treat you? If you were heretics or apostates, get favor +1. If you were fated in imperial culture, get favor -1, but pick an extra surplus in the resource section. I think that the reason they destroyed that monastery is because we are indeed heretics and apostates. So I get +1 to favor because everyone loves the apostates these days.
Yeah, the land recognizes you as one of its own. So, and next, the other questions.
Which far-off country brought the church to these lands? Say what customs you still keep from that place. I think we keep the custom of secret tattoos to identify believers, because that was the only way to keep the faith alive when we were slaves. Yeah. And then which house sheltered
Ludo?
Oh,
there we go.
Okay.
So I have a question about that. Are the tattoos governed by the same rules about art, or are the only things in which you are allowed some expression and color?
Oh no, absolutely not. They are tattooed by your local priest according to ritual requirements. God forbid.
Okay.
Artistic freedom.
So, which of the other houses sheltered your people when the empire persecuted them?
I think probably the forgers. Yeah. They gain influence. Oh, yes. So the forgers have influence on the church. So sheltered by the forgers. Okay, and the last question, which house has refused to allow your clergy to preach in their holdings? They say they don't trust you, and you lose any influence you have on each other. Well, there's no question. That has to be the Horse Lords then, doesn't it?
You keep your Spartan art far away from me.
We like nice tattoos here. Okay, next we go to the history of the forgers.
Yeah. How did the Empire treat your state? Now I'm going to choose if you toiled in the mines and construction sites, start with favor +1. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. Where do I put that?
Favor should be. It replaces either data or tech, but I'm not sure. Just replace data for now.
Yeah. And secondly, which house did you send artisans to after a war to rebuild? I guess it makes sense that it's the church then. I mean, since they were heretics and probably needed to rebuild churches. And then, lastly, which corner of the empire were your crafters sent to teach in? What knowledge did they bring back? What was strange about the architecture?
Wait. Before you move on, Alan, you get to pick what did they build for you.
I think Mikkel's right. I think it was rebuilding churches damaged by the Empire. What I'm wondering is where does influence sit? I'm just looking down the character key bar.
It should be. It's treaty.
So it is.
Yeah.
Fine. Do I need to mark minus? No. The way this works is the forgers would mark 1 on me.
Yeah,
Fine.
because they need to spend it to moves.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I have 4 questions here, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to go through all 4 of them.
Yeah. What's all of them?
Which corner of the empire were your crafters sent to the teaching? What knowledge did they bring back? What was strange about the architecture there? I think it is we were actually sent to the capital of the empire to build a palace like we built here. And I think what was strange is that I mean the cities were very I imagine it being they had very planned cities. There was they were not building it organically. They were actually there were people who planned how things would look, and thus everything looked very systematic in a way. There was these the roads were going in these squares of buildings, and I don't think that is a thing that was common here.
And what did you learn on the process?
I think I learned how to do that, how to build things smart instead of just as needed.
Okay, so
I have a last one too, actually, here.
Yeah, you have another one.
What ancient site did you disturb to mine beneath? Says whose heritage you accidentally harmed and give them influence on you. I guess that's the horse lords.
Why are you mining beneath the tomb, yo?
I mean, the Empire told me.
Or beneath the step, wherever you want
to. Sure. Maybe is the tomb the holy site of the?
It's probably where the first queen has been laid to rest with her horse.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I think I don't think it's was under the tomb, but it was in the area of the tomb. I think it's probably the whole. I mean, I bet there is the step people they have a wider geographical understanding of
I
where you
so.
keep away from than
anything within sight of it probably is totally unacceptable.
Yeah, within a day's ride. So you can mark influence on me then.
Where on the character sheet do I mark influence?
It's treaty. Treaty is
okay.
named the influence on this game. Reskins. Okay. Next, it's the history of the Horse Lords.
So how did the Empire treat our house? And if I was Raiders against them, which, you know, that would be really nice right now because I'd get that +1 favor. But I'm pretty sure we profited under their rule. So I gain -1 favor, but I pick 3 surpluses. Let's see. Let me try and copy that. You profit off the rule.
Does anyone know if this has a nice list of the surpluses like on Legacy? Because I cannot see it on the handouts. Because you get to pick 3 of those to start already.
Sorry, I'm trying to paste values only. Oh boy, that's not working. I'll summarize that in a moment. Which house did you feud with before the Empire came? And I don't think I continued raiding in the midst of the revolution. I think there was at some point kind of a turning point where something pushed us against the Empire whole horse. To turn a phrase of the Horse Lords. Who did I put my grudges aside with? I have grudges with both of you because of your Spartan art and you touching the sacred tomb. I'm gonna say the foragers of the Marbled City. We put aside that you were, you know, within a day's ride of the first queen's tomb in order to defeat the Empire. And then the fun one: which land did the Empire send your horsemen to fight in? And say what strange beasts they brought back. I think we were sent to somewhere that was this may have been what turned them the Horse Lords around. We were sent somewhere where it was absolutely impractical for us to actually be cavalry, like a swamp. And I think they brought back, yes, dinosaurs, the living dinosaurs, like crocodiles and alligators and lizards of strange size that dwelled in this swamp. And they paraded them through the streets as sort of a bounty from these wars, and perhaps used them against the populace, maybe. But I love that we were sent somewhere that it was impractical to be used as cavalry, and it was that affront that perhaps turned the Horse Lords. Like, you used us in a poor tactical decision. How dare you?
And which house brought you new stock to strengthen your breeds?
Oh, geez, on the page turn. In the interest of the triangle, I'm fascinated why the Church of the Old Ways had access to horses from far off lands that bred with our stock. But I think that's what we're going to go with.
Well, I've christened the Church of Our Lady of the Pastures. So that gives me
with no style.
That gives me 1 influence on the Horse Lords, then. I think.
Okay, so if you turn to the land of your ancestors, there are 6 flesh points. So in turn, each of you will volunteer to have done one of these 6 things during the revolution. So let's start back to the church.
Oh, there's a no-brainer. We definitely trade in prophecy. While you labored under the Empire's rule as slaves, bracket, one of your house had a vision of the land of their ancestors. Volunteer. who was this visionary? This was the fabled Lady of the Pastures. Yeah. I don't know where to record any of this.
I don't think you do.
Or do you?
I mean, yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I just need. There's the doorbell's gone. Hang on. Sorry. Can you skip on? And I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, let's just go for the next one. So, what role did play the forgers?
Where is this?
So it should be on. If it is on the handouts, it's on the last stand where you can pick the different arbiters. So it's the list called flashpoints on the land of your ancestors.
On the handout. Arbiter.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there, yes. Okay, sure. Then I have it. 6 of them, right. Okay, so I think probably a liberator then. As the dream of the old land spread, you put in motion a plan to let everyone leave. What action did you take to set everyone free? I think actually that, because as I understand it, this tradition here of, I think during like the occupation of the empire, we were not allowed to use these clothes that marked us as who we are, and I think we just started wearing them one day, and people as well, and it let us, like, I imagine it being like, this kind of finding bravery in that other people were like singling themselves out, and then in the end no one was not wearing it.
So basically, you took back your culture against as an act of resistance,
Yeah.
and inspiration. So who did you have to leave behind in the imperial capital as you left?
I think okay, so I think that we had to. I mean, there was also a lot of good things about the empire in a lot of ways. I mean, we don't admit it, but they brought technology, they brought wealth and stability, and we left all that behind there. I think that now we're on our own. We used to be like a province, like a small destitute land, but we were a part of this big empire once, and although we were repressed, it definitely had some good sides as well, and now we're on our own.
So I guess there's people within the forgers that miss that.
I think there is, but also I think that like the major thing driving the forgers as a faction is trying to build that up again, even though that there's probably resistance to that because it's associated with the empire.
So going back to Our Lady of the Pastures, so what did they see on this vision?
I think they saw the entire land coated in a sheen of golden wheat, feeding everyone.
That's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people from the Forge who shakes their head when people start talking about that.
Uh-huh.
I'm interested how that influences the art too. This golden field,
Ooh.
repetitively like singly drawn sheaths of wheat or something.
I think so.
Yes.
I think the kind of the idea of the stylized head of corn is fundamental and probably constitute that tattoo, actually.
Yeah.
And then you asked me a question, I think.
Okay, so how did the land bless or change its prophet?
The land absorbed Our Lady, so she is now everywhere in the land. And wherever a crop grows, we see Our Lady in action.
May I have a suggestion? How about the land absorbed Your Lady, and the first horses of the stock, a herd of them appeared the next day as the sun rose, and that breed was said to be sacred to the land, and that was the same breed that you then use it to gain the favor of the horse lords.
Yeah, that works for me because where those horses go, the spirit of Our Lady follows, and that barren steppe of grass will soon be coated in the bounty of Our Lady of the Golden Pastures. Ah, yes, she's just become Our Lady of the Golden Pastures.
Did you actually tell the horse lords when you gave them these horses that there's like this whole bloodline thing that you're gonna try and
Of course, we tried to, but being ignorant barbarians, they don't understand.
Dum dum dum.
We offered them several stylized pieces of art that would have told that story, but they seemed uninterested in the strictures.
if it's not beads and dancing, we're not interested.
And next, speaking of the horse lords, which role they played on the revolution?
I'm sorry, wait, the rear guard one or
You can pick any but prophecy and liberator, any of those four.
oh, I see the page turns. Okay. Each player will I think occupier probably makes the most sense. So as you founded settlements and rediscovered monuments and resources, tensions grew between newcomers and current residents. You were the first to draw blood to claim what you felt you were due. I answer, what did I claim and how did we justify it? I want to say it's the tomb. I think our justification is pretty clear, because it is the residence of our first queen. However, I'm interested in how the people of this land, since we are alien to them, what the significance it held for them prior to this, because the significance for my house is obvious. I think it might have to do with its location on the dry river and its curse. And I think it was a holy site for the people who are still here who have returned to, in an attempt to try and make the dry river no longer dry. So that it's to them, it was a ritual location that we have, in a way, desecrated by making it our own holy site. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so who are them and how did you hurt them and where are they living now that you have taken their lands?
I think they've fled downriver, possibly squatting in the ancient monastery. And I think they're sort of regrouping at the ancient monastery. I don't think they're living poorly. I think they've sort of taken on stuff from this ancient monastery. So the ancient monastery is in a way tied to the Church of Our Lady of the Golden Pastures, correct?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Empire destroyed it.
Yeah.
So it's the ruins of the ancient monastery, technically, I think.
Okay. So they now I've pushed the squatters out of my area into yours. Great.
Logically, does that mean that the tomb should be inside your borders?
It's right on the edge.
Okay, right.
Yep.
It's occupied territory.
Yeah. Borders are always up to interpretation. It's well within my borders.
I mean, if I can get to there in a horse, it's my borders.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that's not a dotted line marking the step, but yeah.
9-dash line. Anyway.
Yeah, so next we go to the new land. So it's the final round of additions to the map. So feel free to add a new landmark. Let's start with the church.
Okay, so I think I'm going to have to extend the border because in order to fit these in. So I've got the Grand Cathedral restored from the Empire's neglect, the island monasteries, home of some ascetic communes, and the Lake of Penitence, where the masses were absolved of wrongs done under the Empire. Okay, so I think what I will do is add the Lake of Penitence, I think. Not quite sure how to make a Lake of Penitence, but leave that with me. There we are, the Lake of Penitence, and I'll move my border to fit to get it inside my borders. Yeah.
Okay. So next we have the forgers.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna add the Forge of the Earth, built at the site where the Earth itself can melt any metal. Because that sounded metal.
That is metal as hell.
So... These funny shapes. I don't know, it looks like a forge here. It looks like a factory, at least.
So, what did the Horse Lords claim as the new symbol of their power, as the great powerhouse in the new land?
My options are the Great Stables, large enough to house all of the horses. The Long Flats, where you first gathered for the uprising, and the farthest river, kept out of reach by the Empire, but now a tantalizing frontier. I'm going to go with the Great Stables. And we will add those to the map. Nope, not that. Let's see. What looks like a stable to me? I think they're circular. We'll do like this cylinder here.
Wait, you said cylinder, and now I'm picturing, that warehouse for cars. That it's a cylinder with many levels, and you have the central elevator. I'm thinking
Yes.
that with horses now.
Yeah, it's like it's a cylindrical giant stable.
Yeah, okay. Next, we gonna pick the doctrines of the house. So this is basically it's the main belief of the house, but these are not permanent. These are something that when the age passes, you can change. So basically, it's the outlook of the house for this current era. So let's go back to the church.
Sorry, remind me where I'm looking.
Doctrine. So it should be on the other. It should be on the front side of your sheet.
Okay. Oh yes, yeah, right. Okay. So pick one. Internationalist. Your existence is a reminder that Empire united many lands in suffering. When you take part in a delegation outside the land's borders, you may find sanctuary and aid with fellow worshippers. Comforters, you have a God-given duty to provide aid. Radicals, you fight to ensure that the search for justice doesn't end with the Empire's defeat. When you bring evidence of another house's crimes to the Arbiter's court, win one favor and they lose one favor. I think we will go with radicals. You ensure the search for justice doesn't end with the Empire's defeat. When you bring evidence of another house's to the fine, that's the one. So doctrine.
Okay, now let's see what is the doctrine of the forgers.
I think it makes sense with what I already established, that it's resilient infrastructure. When you donate a surplus towards the Arbiter's project, gain fleeting advantage to favor. I don't even know what that means, but I mean, that sounds cool and fictionally. So if a project fails, recover one of the donated surpluses. So what are Arbiter's projects?
Basically, an arbiter project is so you have your own agendas of your house, and that is something that the land, because the land is the arbiter here, the land is trying to do. So it can be to start a war, to transform something, to do a counter-insurrection when the people are revolving, to expand the land itself, to build something grand. So basically, when that is happening, your house can decide, well, I'm going to assist the arbiter and try to get favor for that, or I don't think this is good for the land and I don't want it to change this direction, so I'm going to oppose this project.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Well, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Next, we have the doctrine of the horse lords.
And I'm going to go with the first option, which is ride fast to any summons. When you ride to pursue or escape, no one can outpace you. If anyone anywhere sends you a messenger by rider or bird, you may narrate the arrival of a small band by the end of the next day. So that was
the beacons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next, I think it's the lifestyle. Yes, it's the lifestyle. So where and how your house makes their home. Then you can mark the holdings of your house in the map. So let's go back to the church.
Okay, so again, premise here. So if I were to go for a network of churches, your church is the focal point of communities. When your character visits a new settlement, the GM will tell you one piece of gossip you learned from the local priest. Does that mean that is that inside my borders or everywhere?
I would say you can spread it out as everywhere because that's a very decentralized church.
Okay.
So you can mark, with your colors, your borders, because of course you have churches all around there, and then you can spread a few points where you have churches. Clearly not on the steps, because we established that they don't want to hear even about anything about Our Lady of Pastures.
Okay. Well, then the other option is a broad church. Each region's denomination has wildly divergent beliefs adapted to fit their ancestral teachings. When your character enacts a ritual as part of a religious ceremony, the GM picks one less bane. What I'm thinking is that we may well have sent horse breeders into the steppes with those horses, who are now, they're still part of the church, but they are less, they have adapted to fit some of their rituals around the horse lords. How does that play?
Oh, I have a suggestion, which depends on Greg. How about these kind of offshoot of the church? They replaced the central figure of Our Lady of the Pastures with the founding queen, and it's centering about the tomb as a focus to relationship with the land.
So they believe that the lady of the Golden Pasture is actually the one who is entombed.
No,
one.
Can I suggest what I think I'm thinking? Yeah, I think I see where you're going with this, Ludo. So this is like the Roman Church arriving in barbarian lands and adopting festival dates from the locals.
Yeah, I'm into
displaying the one true God, not as the sheaf of corn, but as a horse head.
Yeah, and adapting the more strict tattoos to the horse lords, clan markings and whatnot, and more colorful, and starting to add that to the. So you start to have this syncretic fate that is merging the two things. And clearly there will be no schism coming. Definitely no schism here.
And yeah, you're totally gonna get into dancing. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. So what is the lifestyle of the forgers?
Yeah, there's some very interesting and distinct choices here. I think there's two ones here. I think the made the seat of your house a thing of beauty. When the game zooms in on your city, describe the festival taking place there and pick a stat characters who participate get fleeting advantage with. It's an interesting contrast to the horse lords, I think. Also, there is the build resistance. You scattered people to ensure that their neighbors have places to shelter from the storm. When the GM declares a disaster befalls a settlement your people live in, say what its inhabitants can do to find safety. I think actually that I'm doing the first one, because I established that the cities are important to the Union of Stone.
Yeah. So you can add those holdings on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next, and I guess in this case, Alan, you add the split church on the steps one then.
Yes, I could do. And I'm just thinking that this applies to all regions. So it could very well be that in the mountains, Our Lady of the Golden Pastures is that mother lode.
Yeah, or maybe something related to the crater, or maybe something related to the forge. And then we have the lifestyle of the horse lords.
And my options are nomadic remnants, where we have an urban center, but the surrounding steppes. Basically, I gain a surplus for scouts. Our feudal knights, where all the warriors are supported by a whole group of people. But I'm going with the finest mercenaries, where your horse uses their warlike might to earn vital resources. At the end of each season, gain surplus coin if you're currently fighting on someone else's behalf. We are a tool to be used in your wars.
Oh god, this is awful. And by awful I mean great. Okay, so next we're gonna pick the resources. So you're gonna have suggestions, and then you're gonna pick 2 of those, and the rest will be your needs. So I remind Greg that you get to pick 3 from before. If you have not picked yet, you can pick. And starting on page 33 of the core book, you have a suggestion of resources to have. Let's start with resources of the church. What does the church have, and what does the church need?
So, before I do assets, can I just? Oh no, hang on. No, I'm in the wrong place again. Sorry, I thought we were doing inheritance.
No, we are doing surpluses and needs.
Yeah. Okay. So where are they generated from?
I thought there was on the playbook.
Oh, sorry, they are. It's down below the new land. Pick 2 as surpluses and take the rest as needs. Marble, crops, dyes, pigments, lumber, land. I think the self-evident surplus is crops. So hang on, where are they? So crops is a surplus. And marble, dyes and pigments, lumber and land. I think that probably between our pastures, the forests are rich, so we have lumber. And then that means my needs become marble, because we do like to build a church. Dyes and pigments. No, I tell you what, I'm going to make dyes and pigments a surplus and make lumber a need, because when we can't build in marble, we build in wood. And we do love an expansionist church, so resources needs is land. Then the GM picks. Oh, customs and moves. No, right.
No, but you have to say where each surplus is kept, or if it's dispersed, so it's across. It's not safely.
I think it's bound to be dispersed, given the kind of description we've got of the church.
Yeah, so mark each that is dispersed as dispersed.
Fine. Yeah. Because those are the dyes and pigments we make we turn into these. They're crop plants, really, aren't they? So some of the crops are food, some of them are dyes and pigments. Fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so next we go to the resources of the forgers. So you can pick 2, and I think you picked the resources from the forgers, Alan.
I think I did.
Yeah.
Hang on. The most difficult thing I find with all the legacy games is skipping back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay, let me think again. Certain missionaries, lands, crops, literature, wealth. Okay, so crops stay a dispersed surplus. Missionaries, because that's what a broad church requires, are also a surplus. That leaves land, literature, because we're not great readers, obviously, but we might quite like to know more stuff, and wealth. We are the poor brothers of Our Lady of the Golden Pastures.
Do you have your missionaries dispersed, or do you have them concentrated on a place that you're trying to convert?
Dispersed. You know, it goes with the broad church.
Yeah. Okay, next we have the forgers, and you can pick your resources. So from marble, crops, dyes, and pigments, lumber, and land.
Yeah, my surpluses are marble and dyes and pigments, and my needs are crops, lumber, and land. I think,
So,
and they're all in the Jewel City, my resources.
okay, so you have all of them on the Jewel City.
Well, actually, dyes and pigments is in the Jewel City, and marble is in my Forge of Stone.
Yeah, this makes sense. A lot of mineral wealth there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Greg, what were the old resources that you picked for the Horse Lords that you got from the Empire?
So I'm just questioning how it's written. So I have pick 2 surpluses and take the rest as needs. And then the writing for the history is pick 3 surpluses in the resources section. So am I supposed to pick 3 from the original 5 and then I only have 2 needs, or do I get 3 additional surpluses on top of the 2 surpluses that I'm taking?
Let's see. Yeah, you pick 3 and you have 2 needs. Yeah.
Okay, so got it. So I am going to get rid of prestige and leadership. Okay, so I have herds, land, and soldiers. Land and soldiers are both dispersed, but the herds are all concentrated at the Great Stable. And then I still need livestock and scouts.
Great. Next, we're gonna pick the customs for the land. Okay, so for the land of our ancestors, I'm inclined to either go to tundra, steppe, and desert, or high passes, deep gorges, and winding rivers. Anyone has any suggestions?
So again, just so I'm clear, we kind of narratively already have some mountains, we've got some steppe, and we've got some rolling pastures of golden corn.
Yeah.
So is this again the contested space in the middle we're talking about?
I will say yes, that it's the territory that you're trying to conquer.
Okay.
Or we can go with another suggestion entirely other than these choices.
I'm kind of tempted by the grassland, forests, and plains because I think the steppe is sort of sparse as far as food goes. I think the church would be interested in taking the grasslands because it's fertile. And then the mountains aren't exactly a great place to grow food.
Yeah, and wood is pretty much something that none of you have. And that would make that that will actually explain very well why it's not just invaded, because you get into these rolling grassland hills and the forests. It's not exactly the best place for steppe warfare. So I kind of see this resistance forming there. Yeah, I'm gonna pick with grassland, forests, and plains. And next, seasonal changes. So what happens when season changes? The great migrations of beasts and birds, impressive and destructive storms at each season's onset, a sky of pure darkness on the night of each eclipse. I'm tempted to the last one only because of how weird it is.
Yeah, I mean, the only trouble with that one is eclipses. There's not a time component to that. I'm quite attracted to impressive and destructive storms sweeping out of the mountains or the steppe at each season's onset.
Yeah,
Mechanically, I don't know whether we track seasons, but I quite like that.
We do. So yeah, I kind of like that idea. Yeah, because we also, we have this cursed aspect of the land, so the storm can be an manifestation of that too. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the storms. Laws, the laws of the land. Do not harm a single wild animal in spring. Do not raise an axe against a tree older than you. Do not travel between settlements in winter. Hmm. I like the animal and the travel in winter ones because they seem to be the ones more likely to be broken.
I like the one in winter because we have this sort of thing where the church has their missionaries out in our areas, and like because they're not allowed to leave in winter, that's where they sort of start taking on our culture. They've trapped. We're like, you can't leave in winter. No, you have to stay, and then they celebrate these winter festivals with us.
And nothing to do but listen to these slightly heretical ideas.
Yeah,
Have you tried red paint?
yeah, and I can see big festivals in the city because they have to stay in the Marble City for the entire winter. So it's where it's the cultural season also there. Yeah. And it's definitely not when the people that are being oppressed now by you gather to conspire for the next year. Definitely not. Uh, yeah. What do I pick next? I pick other things. So. Okay. You also get assets to pick. So these are things that your characters later will pick. So you get assets and you get moves from your house playbook. So I also have a few things more to pick. So while you do that, I will also do that. Actually, let's take a break of then. Then we do the final picks for both the arbiter and the houses. 10, let's go, call it 10. Okay. Time to start filling the stuff. So, the land and the people are one. So, for how the arbiter presents itself, I have some interesting choices. I can have the local population. They are a conduit to the land itself, and because they have a deeper tie to the land, they can actually speak for it. And thus, you have to interact with the locals to know what the land wants to. Of course, this is open to manipulation by them because you yourself don't have this direct contact. Or we can go with a more active will of the land. So the land itself communicates with everyone through dreams and visions, which kind of fits what we had established previously with Our Lady of the Pastures. So I'm loading to this one. So when the arbiter is holding courts, then it will be in stone circles and glades, or there will be oracles hearing things from stones and trees. Uh, or we can take a more ecological approaches. So where it's how you use their land and how sustainable it is and transformations you inflict through it. And you have the local rangers and druids, the naturalists that are going to be the kind of people that notice your changing relationship. So I'm actually, as I said, I'm leaning towards the active will of the land, speaking through dreams and oracles and visions. Does anyone have any opinions?
I love the mystic.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm good with the mystic one as well.
Because sometimes those horses we sold to the steppe barbarians, they do speak, you know. But
Let's
only
wait till we
through
get to my
us.
moves. All right.
So, because of that, and if for any reason you break the law, one of the options to the punishments will be that your rituals have one more bane this age. So the land can sever your mystic ties to it. Okay, I decided between two moves. One, Patron of the Tender. So, at beginning of each season, the land rewards whoever is standing best to their land's bounty. Or lines of power. So there are mystical power sites across the land, and you can claim them by force.
I do love a line of power.
I'm okay with either one.
Michael?
What was the first one?
Patron of the Tender. So it rewards people that they believe are tending their land properly. So the faction that is tending their land better begins each season with advantage on court dealings.
I think I like that one better because we have already a lot of things that could be taken by force. So it would be
That's true.
Fair
Yeah,
point.
and this rewards, something else other than just taking it by force. If you take by force, you have more things to neglect.
Yeah, let's go with Patron of the Tender.
Are we moving on to our the rest of our stuff on our playbooks?
Yeah. I'm assuming that you guys have been picking moves and whatnot. I think I finished with my picks. Let's see.
So tell me how assets work.
So assets are basically it replaces Legacy's equipment. So basically, it's the things that your characters can start equipped with.
Right. So it's gear on the sheet.
Yeah. So I start with 5 control. Okay.
Some of my gifts, some of my assets are clearly individual. Some are groups or transport. If I choose not to select as an asset one of the outfits, what does that mean for the characters?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, my recollection from Legacy is that if I select as gear, general gear, say traveling wear, outfit, practical, hardy, then the default wear for any character when we zoom in will be practical, hardy. Yeah?
Each character actually has a default. This is on top of that.
Oh, okay, fine. That's helpful.
So yeah, there is some basic equipment that you always have. And I think it depends on the playbook. So yeah, so actually it's from the gear moves, outfit. Every house can always outfit a character with an outfit with either the practical or heraldry tags. So you always get that.
Okay, well then I've gone for temple guards, followers drilled vicious, healers and carers, followers therapeutic genial, and rabble of zealots, followers horde vicious. We are a gentle church.
Except for the corn zealots.
And the horse zealots.
For the Unbridled Grey, which is the name of the horse lords of the steppe, our mounts are known for their sheer power and might, bred to match the charge of any lance and spear, which gives all of them get a mount that is hulking and mighty, kind of beefed up perhaps by these corn-fed horses. They are all skilled rangers and foragers with deep knowledge of nature, which makes them astute and spiritual. And speaking of spiritual, speaking of spiritual, where is that? One of my moves I took is the strength of the mare, where my herdmasters are actually a mystery cult that the Golden Pastures people have not infiltrated yet. But they may add the strength of the mare to our house's traditions. If my character enacts a ritual, they can draw on the strength and endurance of the herd, heal a steed of any complaint, or open the gates to the ancestors' pasture and call through a horse of legend. And then also, the Unbridled Grey has taken the weapons of the Empire. I think we all saw that one coming. Each horseman and their horse is an unassailable war machine. I imagine all of these horse maidens probably, just because it's kind of different from typical, they're these really long war hammers that they all wear. And they charge into battle swinging these large war hammers, sometimes only on the string that holds them to the base of the hilt.
What is your second move? Strength of the mare and what?
Oh, hit and run. When my forces charge in and assault a target, gain advantage on claim by force. We're good at taking stuff.
Okay, I'm still picking my moves here. So, but for my gear or assets, I've chosen what work is your greatest pride. It's runic blades, weapon, melee, elegant, and weird. I think these are from the this metal that we used to excavate in this what is now a crater. And I think it used to be like common in the land among most people, but I think when the empire came, people usually sold them off because they had a good price. But it was like it was a thing. It was the symbol of the union, and so people in the so we all kept it.
I have a follow-up question on that. Do your people still remembers the meaning of the language, or do they just transcribe the runes without knowing what they mean?
No, I think they do actually, and because I already chose now here my first move, which is Bones of the Earth. So I think because I wanted to connect them a little bit to our land here as well. So the land is a living and breathing thing. As Asperts works with the bees to create gold, so the earth takes an active role in your crafts. Add the Bones of the Earth to your traditions. When your character enacts this ritual, they may draw on the stability and resolve of the earth and reinforce the structure with rampants of rock and crack open the rock to release a gout of water, a vein of valuable minerals, or the earth scalding in red blood. Which is kind of cool because also it is. I mean, I think they still know it, what it means, but I think they also have lost some of this connection to the earth in ways. I think they don't understand the meanings of these rituals that much anymore, but they still do them. Yeah, and then who helps you in your craft is laborers, and so it gives me followers that are hardy and strong. I think we used to be more artisans and stuff before the Empire came, but I mean, we toiled in the mines, so now we're mostly laborers. And how do you travel in caravans of wagons, transport, drawn, and hulking? So I made some real, like, workers here. And yes, so I think that for For my last move, I think I'm going to do Delving the Depths. When you start a new mining operation, erase an appropriate surplus at the start of next season, gain surplus coin or surplus raw materials. At the start of the season after that, gain whichever surplus you didn't pick. I might change that but this is the one that looks most interesting to me right now.
And Alan, did you pick your moves?
Yes. Word travels fast. Once a season, you may send a mission of your clergy to a settlement. As long as the rulers of the settlement take no action to expunge your teaching, your sleight or cunning rolls involving the settlement have advantage. And the other one is Sanctuary. Your places of worship are a bulwark against the pain and suffering of the mundane world. When you shelter someone in your temples, those hostile to them cannot cross the threshold. Those who recuperate within your temples gain the benefit of professional care. I was tempted by Heretic Doctrine, but I thought that was a curved ball to offer some other player when they take this faction on.
Okay, I think we are done. And Alan, how are you doing with time?
Very little, actually. I need to grab a bite to eat before I run a game in 40 minutes.
Okay. So we are going to go into character creation, but before I need to pick a project and an arbiter. If you want to take part of that, you may, or if you think you need more time.
I think this is a good place to break, to be honest, because it should be whoever takes on this faction who creates some characters. That will give me slightly longer to eat the sandwich. So no, thanks for letting me in at short notice, Lou.
Thanks for joining us.
Enjoy the development of the land. I shall watch the AP with interest, Greg Mikkel.
Let's see how we destroy this.
See you again. Bye now.
Until next time.
Okay, so there are different projects that I can pick, and each of them, your house can take a different role. So I can have a counter-insurrection with people fighting, a grand construction in which some great building is being performed, an expansion in which the land seeks to annex something, a transformation. So there's something about the culture of the land that the land wants to change. An open war. So there is conflict at the borders. I think because we established that people are the people are seeing you with hostility, see you as another colonizers. I think there can be a counter-insurrection. So as they try to, while your power base is still flimsy, they are trying to get you out, or at least to open the path to another power structures to emerge. Because so far only the church, the forgers of the city, and the house lords have any say on the fate of the land. So because that is happening, as there is turmoil and whispers of fighting, I get to ask the houses questions. So I'm going to start by asking the forgers, what was the flashpoint that started the war?
The war, the insurrection. It's a good question. I think I mean, feel free to stop me here, Greg, but I think perhaps taking back the tombs might have been it.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
So yeah, after they take the tombs, it seems that that this sparked clear outrage, and everyone living on the land, they realized that if the distant cousins of the horse lords that remain behind, if they can be taken out of their ancestral lands by uh, these uncannily familiar invaders, any of them could see the same happening. And this clearly starts the path to which war becomes inevitable, at least if the arbiter continues with this. So I have to ask you, I have to ask the Orslords, which important faction has taken the side of the rebels?
So normally I would go with the church, but so I get a broader question here. Is the intention that if someone joins us next week, they will take on the role of the church?
They might take the role of the church. They can make a new family.
Family, yeah.
Or they can play characters from your two houses or from the church without controlling it.
I'm actually thinking that in some way, because it's a counter-insurrection, that it's actually maybe the Empire or remnants of the Empire are still somewhere in this land and are secretly providing aid or money or something. That there's a plot afoot to, yeah, we push them out, but whoever's left is sort of seeing this flashpoint as a pivot point that maybe they could turn to their advantage.
Yeah, maybe they can set a fourth power that they can actually influence, because for obvious reasons you are very skeptical of the Empire. Yeah, I like that. So next, back to the Forgers. Who has already been executed by the Arbiter?
Yeah, that is interesting. I think the obvious choice here is like a priest or something like that, because it's like very much the I mean, they were the ones traveling the most around between the places, and also I don't know, it feels like that would be like them showing up at the wrong time might be something that could have sparked something like this.
I like the idea that it's someone who, because we were working on this, the church has sort of adopted and been in both of our lands and sort of taken on sort of our traditions. There might be one of those traveling missionaries might have visited both the lands of the steppe and the lands of the Union of Stone. So it's someone that's important to both of our factions has actually been killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
Someone who's now seen as like a prophet or a martyr, perhaps in retrospect.
How about this? I have a suggestion that I think ties everything together, because the church is supposed that it's very decentralized, but still is ruled by a primarch. So I was thinking that there was a priest that was well regarded, played the central role in the revolution, and was the next candidate for the primarch to replace the ailing primarch. And because of that, he was sent to all the different factions, and he was friendly with every single faction. And he was supposed to be the great unification. It was looking forward that the next generation, his generation, would actually heal the land.
Yeah.
But as he was returning for winter, the Arbiter appeared and executed him.
Perhaps at that monastery, the ruined monastery, where I have forced the people back to.
Yeah, maybe the Arbiter appeared on that people, and the Arbiter captured, pulled him to the monastery, and executed him for his crimes against the land. And this
Yeah.
immediately set clear that nobody is safe from this insurrection if the Primarch apparent can just be taken off the roads and brought there.
What if this priest was coming there to absolve the people for their wrongs done under the Empire?
Yeah, on the lake of regrets. Yeah, I like that.
Oof.
Yeah, they were. Yes, we are all about absolving people of their crimes. Let's start by making you pay for yours. Okay, so last question: who's trying to profit off the conflict? Well, besides the Empire. So
I think the Horse Lords, the Unbridled Grey, are certainly interested in selling their protection to the other houses, as they are not warlike like we are.
so you are welcoming this insurrection. Maybe you actually expected it.
Maybe.
Goddamn horse lords throwing the people out. Knew this would happen.
So on the project, it's going to. There are 2 tracks: the progress track and the doom track. So, with the doom fails, the project fails. If the progress hits 5, it succeeds. So a house can increase the project by delivering military surplus to the war front. So you are considered to be helping the land through this counter-insurrection. And you increase the doom if you side with the rebels, if you kill the arbiters, one agent of the arbiters, and if a key settlement falls to the rebels, or if turmoil beats control, or turmoil gets its 10. So basically, if you want this project to fail, you need to support the rebels. If not, you give stuff to the forces of the land. Which is interesting because now we get to pick who will be the agent of the land, who is leading these forces opposing the counter-insurrection. So there are different playbooks. We don't need to customize it because this is a character that is played by you players. Whenever there is, the arbiter is there, but there is a character of one of yours that makes no sense with there. You play the arbiters. So there are 5 playbooks. We have the Shadow, the Fist, the Voice, the Falcon, and the Soul. So yeah, so basically the Shadow is a Spy Master type. The Fist is pretty much a warrior type. The Voice is more of a diplomatic one. The Falcon is kind of a ranger traveling scouting type. And the Soul is the more mystical one. So who does the land picks to defend itself from the chaos of the insurrection?
Do you have any strong feelings about it, Michael?
Not really. I'm trying to find them as well. There is a lot of things in this book.
Yeah, they are at the end of the handouts before the project.
153.
Right. The Shadow, the Fist, and the Voice.
Yeah.
And the Falcon and the Soul. Okay.
I kind of feel like the Soul makes sense with how we've been talking about the land, speaking to people through visions.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps a misguided soul, or at least we, of course, view them as misguided. But that sort of leans a little bit into the mysticism part of it. I'm also tempted by, but it leads to the question of why did the soul commit such a grievous act of violence? So maybe the Fist.
Yeah, or the Voice making...
Or the Voice kind of rabble-rousing people. Maybe the Voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Voice looks good. Okay,
I
so
like the
we're gonna
voice.
pick the voice. During this age, the voice represents the land. Next, we're gonna create our character. So each of you picks a different character playbook. So let's go around which ones you prefer.
I've already started creating a Bogatir, but I could certainly create something else if.
No, you just create the
Okay.
Bogatir. Seems very
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think perhaps I'm not sure. So give me an idea here. What? Because I don't know. I haven't played the Legacy before. So how exactly will the fiction work here?
So basically, what happens is we have 4 levels of play here on this compared with Legacy. In Legacy, you have 3 levels of play. You have the age play. So whenever you change an age, there's a lot of procedures that you go. Basically, that then you decide how the houses change, but we have it subdivided because we break down an age in different seasons. So basically, we have age play and we have the season play, which we go through procedures at the beginning of every season, and then we go down to the house play. And at the level of the house, we are taking turns or just conform the fiction demands, taking actions with the house. So the horse lords do this. We are trying to get this resource that we need. So in order to do that, we do that, or we send a delegation to the empire. So whenever there is something that needs to be zoomed out, that the resolution is not obvious from the house moves, then we go into character level play. And when we go into character level play, then we do the gear out move. So we decide which assets everyone is bringing. We define the objective of that scene. So what we are trying to get clarification. Then every character that might be involved is played by their players. And the other players, they can make a quick character. That's why we have every house has inheritance rules. So basically, when you make a quick character of that house, you just use the inheritance rules for that. And in this case, we have an additional rule, which is the arbiter. So if the arbiter is related to a question, it is one of the players that is not playing their character will be playing the arbiter. And once we have the clarification that we need, we zoom out, we continue with house play. If there is a new question, we zoom out to character plays again, and we keep playing on house play until we get to the end of the season play, and so on and so on.
Okay. There are different characters here. I mean, it's interesting. It's a very widespread of things. I have a little bit like of a hard time imagining what. Okay, so I think it's between probably the ambassador and the factor. But I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go with the factor, actually.
Which one?
The factor
Which one is that?
has a keen mind for administration, acting by turns. Initials,
yeah, okay.
a measure, and a general.
Yeah, it's the last one. I was thinking, is not Scout the last one? No, there's one after. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, for the voice, I've given them the inheritance move that they can find common ground with the environment itself, so they can convince even the land itself.
I changed the playbook to the ambassador instead. They had so many cool moves. I'm like, wow. Razor tongue, that seems like the coolest move ever. When your opponent deals you a heavy wound, they must also reveal a secret that rather you or the audience didn't know. I'm like, we have some horse loads here. This is bound to happen. Am I ballsy enough to take it? What is even a hale body?
What?
Hale body. These
Oh yeah, I have no idea.
these looks on the PPT sheet sometimes just puts so many weird adjectives here that nobody's ever heard of. I guess I'm going with wired.
Oh, I think it's supposed to be, you know, when you look old but you look healthy and strong. That's hale.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm good here now. Give her notes. Okay, so yeah.
So only backstory. And how are you, Greg?
I'm good.
Okay, so you get to ask from each other at least one. And then if anyone answers, then you have backstory with them. So let's start on the order of the character sheet. So first to be our ambassador.
Yeah. X told me something that was great for my house and disastrous for theirs. I mean, I guess also it would be good to maybe do this when
Oh yeah, I mean, the only question is if they answer any of those.
X and I have a history that is quite unprofessional. And then there's X saved my life when a deal went very wrong.
Saved your life and then what?
When a deal went very wrong.
I kind of like both of the last two. That I saved your life when a deal went wrong, but shoot, what was the other one? Oh, and we have a history that's quite unprofessional.
Yeah.
Perhaps those two are tied together.
Yeah. I like also the second one. It's a bit gives our relationship a lot of color. We can. What do you think that would be? Like, let's see who your character is here. Kessa. Okay.
Yeah, she's sort of like a paladin, because she like the whole champion thing is sort of like she picks a promise and sticks to it. Perhaps she was not always that way. Perhaps she was once a little more vagabondy, or
I mean, she's also a person, so
she's also a what?
A person, so it could be
yeah.
I mean, even though she's honorable.
What would we have gotten up to?
Why don't you throw your backstory back at them to see if we get any ideas?
Hey, there's a good idea. So mine are: I respect Blank's devotion to their house, even though it caused me trouble. Blank and I fought a duel once. They won, but only barely. And Blank switched sides to help me. Can I trust them?
I like the first and the last best.
Yeah, how did your devotion to your house cause me trouble?
I mean, I feel like I guess the choice between those two is kind of like indicative of who my character is going to be. I think that definitely I have to make a name as well. A named character is very much like someone who is pragmatic in how they do their profession, which is diplomatic. So I definitely see like how I could have put you at danger to maybe I mean maybe even like implied that the horseless were at fault for something in the place where you were, something like that. I mean, it can also have been true, but
So you made a pragmatic choice that it was better to blame the horse lords for the advantage of the
yeah, I'm not
of the
gonna.
Stone Union.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like make my personal relationships stop me from doing what is best for my house. So if it is the choice is to put you in a dangerous situation and put my house in a dangerous situation, then that's what I'm gonna do.
So we had to flee to avoid this sort of scapegoating that you did to us.
Mm-hmm.
Put me in danger, and yet we still have this unprofessional relationship on the side.
I kind of imagine that it might have been something with that, like that. It's a bit of like a sport between us to like put each other in dangerous situations.
And when you were actually in a dangerous situation that someone else put you upon, I actually did save your life.
Mm-hmm. It could be.
I like that. What was that dangerous situation, though? Who was coming for you?
I mean, someone stronger than me, perhaps. I mean, even though actually I have a little bit of might, there's definitely like probably group of people, I'd say. Maybe the voice.
I was going to say, or did you offend the church in some way?
I think perhaps. I think perhaps that. I mean, I'm imagining like this project that the Arbiter is having right now. That is makes it a little bit dangerous to look like you're to stand out in the as someone who is representing like what these people of the land hate. And I am definitely a character who's very much that. I wear the clothes of my fancy clothes, probably, and there's probably like this this place where I took a risk going to meet this person, maybe the voice actually. But then it turned out to be a very bad place to be for me, because they were only getting me there to make their to show the people that they could that I was powerless to them.
Were we childhood friends? Is that where our unprofessional relationship comes? I came to your aid as my childhood friend. I sort of, appeared across the ridge to save you from this trap.
Yeah, it could be. I like that. Yeah, I very much like that actually. And like all through this time with under the Empire, we like, I guess, kept in touch. And I mean, we had this in common, right? This fight. I mean, even though you represented someone who was more in favored by being under the Empire than me, I think still like we could have this in common about our childhood.
Okay, so we are almost on time. So I think we're going to finish with the start of the new season as the storms come and start spring. And the houses are called to serve. And not all houses are called willing. It seems that the Primarch Ascendant, on their way back home as soon as spring started, was waylaid and dragged to the Circle of Stones, where the voice of the land is holding their court. And before your eyes, accused of the crimes and executed. How are the other houses called to serve? And we're going to see that by a move that is called Holding Court. So before that, because the land rewards those that tend to it well, which of the two houses, the forgers or the horse lords, do you think you have tended better to the bounties of the land?
I would argue that the foragers have probably done a better job. The Unbridled Grey are sort of exploitative, and perhaps need to be taught a lesson.
Yeah, seems okay for me.
Okay, so you're going to roll these with advantage. So each of you roll 2d6 plus the favor of your house. And because you have the advantage, Michael, you may roll with 3 dice and pick the 2 best. And the roll for your party, which I linked at the beginning, but where is that now? And let me put it back. And this is going to define the starting situation for us next week.
That's an 8 for me.
Did your dice just disappear when I rolled mine? Did I just mess that up somehow?
I
Yeah,
can
there
see
is
that.
dice here. It's a 7.
They were scooted off screen. Sorry. That's a 6 for the poor horse lords.
Ooh. Okay, so the horse lords are not even called. So we have this meeting on the Circle of Stones near the ruined monastery. And the horse lords have not even been called by the attendants. The land does not demand anything from them, but does not even see them worth of their noticing. And people are starting to see that maybe the land is truly rejecting them as outsiders. So you lose influence on each faction, and it seems that there is a lot of people not from your faction, but the Church of the Great Mayor that has taken the heretic version, well, heterodox version of the church on your territories. They are the closest that you have to a representative, and they are speaking for the people of the steppes, quirting you entirely. So you're going to lose influence with each other faction. While everyone seems to be focused on the delegates from the forgers, and during the rituals and dances of the night, there is a dream and vision that the delegates receive. The visions show the church and show infection spread across it, and they see they show the heraldry of the founders going deep into the heart of the territory of the church and getting rid of it. And then you see the vines lifting a crown that seems to be made of thorns, that is made on the wheat pattern of that is the symbol of the church, and putting it on the head of which seems to be a humanoid figure. And you get from this that the land is blaming these counterinsurgents not on who you expect, which would be the horse lords, but on the church itself. And they want a new primarch to be elected or appointed, and they want it to serve the land and get rid of this insurrection. And curiously enough, they are not asking the church. In fact, they were pretty hostile to it by executing their primarch apparent, and they are asking you, the founders, to do this. What is the reaction of across your house when this happens? Yeah, because they're gonna return from this court with all these tales of the dreams and signs and what they interpret it to be.
I think at first it's a bit of surprise because we are not really usually like singled out to do these kind of things. But I think that most see it as like a position that they can use for leverage and get something out of it. Which, of course, is a very dangerous position given how the situation is.
And then we see how the other houses react. And we turn to the territories of the Unbridled Grey and to the court of the queen of an unbroken lineage. And how is the queen and its courtiers and the heads of the house reacting? First, to not being told about the secret location of the spring court, and second, to the news that the primarch apparent was slain for his crimes against the land.
So I think the queen is probably bemoaning this absolute lack of scouts. As were they available and were our reach slightly wider, we would undoubtedly know the location of this secret circle and have shown up on our own. But unfortunately, the information was lacking. So I assume that there's probably some sort of discussion amongst the queen and the smaller princesses about how we must rise up some sort of scouting party and increase our knowledge of where all this intrigue is happening. And is not our way, but we must adapt now that the empire has gone. I think the first step in that plan and this is totally out of our wheelhouse, but the stable's around, is probably to send some sort of spies to this ancient monastery to try and integrate ourselves and get better knowledge of the happenings outside of the steppe.
Okay, so why don't you give me a read the wind? Because this will give us the initial setup.
And that's rolling plus what?
Reach.
Oh, I'm so great at that too. Here we go. A 6. So
okay. Okay, after rolling a roll as well as you would like, you may say what the... No, this is only for character. How is house? Is it like legacy to help? Okay, do you have influence over... Michael, does the founders, the forgers, have influence on the horse lords?
Yes.
Do you want to give them advantage on this infiltration, or you don't want to mess in their affairs?
So what exactly is the intention of the horse lords here?
We want to infiltrate this counterinsurgency, because we have certainly heard that this what do we call them, the person apparent, or the person arising, yes, the Primarch arising, has been slain, and we're not used to being so out of the loop, having been so close to the Empire, and so we're trying to find out more of the inner workings of this counterinsurgency. There, that's a good answer.
Okay. It seems pretty risky for me to give you this die, actually. So I think I'm gonna stay out of it.
Okay, so you're gonna get a failure. Let me see what moves I have as the land itself.
If you want some help, you better do something you're better at.
True.
I'm looking for a casus belli, a reason to go to war.
Well, you're gonna find plenty. So the infiltration is going pretty well, but and you find out that there are many clans inside the forest that they seem to be sharpening the weapons of war. But what you don't expect, and actually you're going to tell me what the reaction is from the queen to when this information does, and what does she does with the infiltrators, is that there is the voice. The voice is one of the young women of the people that you pushed out of the Riverlands, and that she has an uncanny resemblance to the founding queen, and a lot of their own people seem to be calling her by that name, and are considering herself reborn, given birth again by the land to lead them, and to the true lineage of queens to be restored. What is the reaction of the queen and princesses, and what do they do to maintain control of this information?
I think the queen is entirely up. She has poker face the whole time that she's hearing this. Sends the informant away. I assume there's some sort of method of getting rid of people that doesn't kill them. It's sort of like sending someone to Siberia. They get sent to the upper steppe.
Send the raid on the Empire.
Yes. It's a one-way horse ride to the northern reaches of the steppe. But I think she's going to go confer with the horse breeders, because it's eerily suspicious. It's seriously close to something that they have told her is a prophecy, that the one queen will rise again.
And I guess this is the perfect place to get it. And I'm going to say probably next week we're going to zoom into that meeting, because I kind of want to see what decides there. Okay, so going to start the broadcast, and let's go brief stars and